Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. It is a very, very hot summer morning, so I have some cookies to make, but I want to make these before it gets too hot during the day, and I would never turn the oven on at that time. So I'm making chocolate chip cookies for a very young friend of mine who will be a senior in high school this coming school year. And she is attending what is called Honor Symposium on the campus of Harding University right now, and it is a local Christian university, and she is so excited. She is having the time of her life. She is starting her second week there, and it only lasts 2 weeks, and it's going to be over all too soon. But I'd like to surprise her by having cookies delivered to her at her dorm room tonight, and that will make the second week just go that much better. And I absolutely adore this child, so this is as much fun for me as it is for her getting the cookies. So let's get started. These are some of my very favorite chocolate chip cookies, and it's my go-to that if I serve a big crowd or a small crowd, this is the one I go to because it's almost perfect in every way. So without any more delay and explaining everything to you, let's get started. I have a cup of butter that is in my mixing bowl now. I put this in there last night before I went to bed, and I put a shower cap over it so it is very softened. You can use melted butter. You can use browned butter if you'd like to. It doesn't matter. So this is a pretty easy-going recipe. To the 1 cup or 2 sticks of softened or melted butter, we're going to add a cup of brown sugar, and I use dark brown sugar. And the reason is, if I'm going to go to the trouble of using something flavored like molasses, I want a good kick in the face with the molasses. I don't want just a light sprinkling of brown sugar. I want high impact brown sugar. So I use dark brown. I have a 1/2 cup measure here. And my favorite way to pack brown sugar is to get it at the side of the container like this and just press it up against it. You don't have to necessarily get your hands all messy. And it'll push it into a flat like that and put it in there like that. We're also going to add 1 cup of regular white sugar. And when I say white sugar, I don't buy bleached sugar. I buy unbleached sugar. It is, I'm pretty sure the brand name is called Zulka, Z-U-L-K-A. You can find it near the regular sugar in most stores, especially your big box stores in most cities, I guess. And it's unbleached, it's non-GMO, it's less processed than the white stuff. It has no bleaching in it, so better choices. So a cup of regular sugar, and it's kind of beige. So we'll call it white for the sake of just meaning not brown sugar. All right, now a lot of people, they'll get their butter and sugar mixed up real quick. They'll add their eggs and get it mixed up real quick, put things together and start baking these right away because they just can't wait to get them made. I'm telling you, take the time to let your mixer run a long time. I'm going to add, I've got all these added together, these 3 items, and we're going to let the mixer run for quite a while. It's going to turn into a good, smooth, consistent paste. When I add those eggs, that's when we're really going to let it go for probably 10 minutes or so, because I want that sugar to start dissolving and getting super smooth before I ever add any flour or anything to it. I don't want crunchy bits of sugar in my cookie. I want it super smooth, and that's the key to it. So let's get started on this. I'll let Lacey out in the sunroom, and I'll get some things done, and we'll be right back because all this is a picture of my mixer running, and you know what that looks like. So we're going to let this run for probably a good 3 or 4 minutes. So we'll be right back. All right, we've let that run quite a while, and this is super smooth. You can actually see, I'll show you what this looks like. You can see the difference in the darker sugar right here and the lighter sugar. This is where it's been beaten a long time. That one got stuck at the top of the paddle, so you can tell the difference in it. It's a lot smoother down there in the majority of the batter just because it's been manipulated, if you will. It seems kind of a harsh word, but that's actually what it is. It's being manipulated in the bowl. Manipulated into becoming smoother. All right, we're going to add a couple of eggs to this, turn the mixer back on, and let it run for probably about 10 to 15 minutes or so. I want this stuff to be as smooth as frosting, no crunchies in it. Then we'll add our flour and our chocolate chips and that kind of things to it. I have the mixer going long enough where I could feed my sourdough for my bread. I have to feed it on a regular basis. All right, notice I'm not breaking my eggs directly into my cookie dough because if there's a speck of a shell that drops in that, I wouldn't want to eat it. I'm sure Miss Madeline doesn't want. And see, there's a lining of the egg, and when I kind of scraped it with my finger, getting all the egg white out, it came off in there too. So I don't want that in there either. All right, put that directly in there. And I like breaking it into a clear cup or bowl just for the simple fact that sometimes I think, did I drop an eggshell in there? And then I can pull the bowl up like this and look and see from all sides if I did or not. And I didn't in this one, so that's good. All right, turn the mixer back on. And of course the clock's dinging right now. We'll get this going. And like I said, let it run for a good 10 or 15 minutes. Right now it's right about 9 o'clock. So we'll be back in just a bit. Okay, turning the mixer off. It's been right before 10 minutes. Okay, give you a look at this. Look how fluffy and creamy that is. I think I could do that milkshake trick where it's not going to fall off the spatula. All right, I did stop the mixer once during beating and just scrape it down from the sides of the bowls. You don't want the sugar to get right next to the bowl and kind of defeat your whole purpose. If you're going to make it all creamy, you can't leave some stuck to the bowl. So scraped it down with the spatula. Now we are going to add, let's see, I have 2.5 cups of organic all-purpose flour here, just unbleached flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder, and I only have it in a jar because I had some left in another container. So 1 teaspoon baking powder and a little bit more than a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I really like that saltiness along with the overwhelming sweetness of a chocolate chip cookie. I think that's really nice, that sweet, salty taste. All right, just a little more than a 1/2 teaspoon. And then we're also going to add to our batter, before we add any dry ingredients to it, our vanilla. And this is just homemade vanilla. And if you could see well enough from the camera, I don't know if you can or not, but there's gobs of seeds in there. It kind of looks like dirt. It looks like somebody's been dipping and using this as their spit cup, which is kind of disgusting to think about. But all those seeds in there are fabulous, and the smell of it is just too good. So 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. My markings are gone on this, and I'm trying to remember what they were. Okay, 1 teaspoon's up to there, so I need about another 1/2. And if I get too much vanilla, actually there's no such thing as too much vanilla. All right, I'm going to give the baking powder and salt a stir just so it won't be stuck in a clump in there and somebody get a bite of just salt or baking powder. Did I say baking soda? Not baking soda, baking powder. My editor will correct me if I goofed up. This happens nearly every video. He's sitting over there at the desk laughing, and I'm in the kitchen. I'll go, what did I say? Because I know he's editing videos. What did I do? What did I say? He's like, you said such and such. I'm like, just edit it out. Or if it's something really good that I think is funny, then leave it in there. Actually, I don't know anything he's taken out except for when I mentioned his name one time. He took that out. So that's a big deal to him. Not sure why. All right, vanilla's mixed in. Now notice I have my paddle attachment. I don't have my dough hook. I don't have the whisk. I just want the paddle attachment on this. So We're going to add our flour in there. I'm going to put it all in there at the same time. And what we don't want to do is turn the mixer on and just let it run and run and run, because that's just building up the gluten. And that's not going to be for a very good cookie. You're going to have kind of a tougher cookie than what you want. So we're just going to stir this just enough to where there's not blobs of flour sitting on the top. And we're going to go slow. Okay, I have a little bit of flour here on the edge, but that's okay. We're going to add our chocolate chips. These are the chocolate chips that I'm using. These are fabulous. Pick the ones that you like. If you like milk chocolate, go with milk chocolate. If you like dark chocolate, and I do, then add dark chocolate. I'm going to put some in the bottom, put my beater down, and add the rest to the top. These are so good. I remember when I was a kid and somebody would give me, when we go trick-or-treating at Halloween when I was a little bitty kid, somebody would give me some of those Hershey's dark chocolate. I'd think, somebody gave me something bad because this doesn't have any sugar in it. I mean, I just could not imagine why anybody would want to eat that. And now I could probably eat a bucket of dark chocolate. It's just that good to me. I don't know at what age I was when that transition happened, but I'm telling you, I went from dark chocolate thinking something's wrong with it and it wasn't completely finished or somebody goofed up in the process to thinking, why would anybody want milk chocolate over dark chocolate? So I'm just a fan of dark chocolate, but use what you like. All right, give this a stir again. The reason we didn't want to just stir it completely when it was just the batter and not the chocolate chips is because I knew we were going to have to stir it again with the chocolate chips. I want to stir it as little as possible. Okay, they look like they're incorporated to me. I have my oven preheating at 375. And we're going to scrape this off the beater at first. Notice I unplugged it before I started doing this because I've seen people try to do this with their mixer plugged in and accidentally hit this latch over here or that on-off switch, and it started moving, and it was funny to me, but it about gave me a heart attack. I have 3 baking sheets. This, in my instructions, I take pretty good notes when I make things because I make these for day camp and bigger events and stuff sometimes, but I make pretty good notes telling me exactly which cookie dough scoop I use because I have several of all different sizes. And according to this, the scoop that I'm going to be using today, one of my larger ones, not the largest, but one of the larger ones, and it makes a pretty good sized cookie. She's going to be excited to get these cookies. But it makes about 24 large scoop cookies. So I can probably put 8 on each of these 3 baking sheets. That dough is just as smooth as can be. Now, I'll tell you a little something. I did not grow up liking chocolate chip cookies. My older sister loved chocolate chip cookies, but I was not a fan of them because the only time I was ever offered a chocolate chip cookie was a Chips Ahoy. Am I allowed to say that? Yeah, Chips Ahoy. Anyway, they were horrible. I just thought, this is just the worst. So I just stuck with the sugar cookies that Nana made, or little petitfours that my mom made, or I don't remember what, no-bake cookies. That was kind of a big thing in our house. That was just kind of a go-to. And my mother made those quite a bit. But at some point in my life, somebody introduced me to no-bake, or not no-bake, slice and bake cookies. You know, the store-bought stuff in that plastic roll. And at that time, you didn't scoop them out. The instructions were to cut them in 1-inch slices and then quarter those slices like little wedges and set them up on the rounded edge. And when they baked, they had that little point at the top of them. Oh my goodness! I kept thinking they were tricking me. I was like, this is not chocolate chip cookies. I see the chocolate chips, but this does not taste like those things in a bag that were so awful. But slice and bake cookies were so good. And we could always get my granddad to say yes to taking us to the store to get some slice and bake cookie dough if, of course, he was not in the field or something. We didn't live close to a store, so that was kind of a big deal. But we'd say, Granddad, can you take us to the store? And he'd say, Sister, it's too late to go to the store. And he'd say, what do you need? And I'd say, well, I was going to get some of that slice and bake cookie dough and make some cookies. And he'd say, get your shoes on. He was ready to go because he liked those slice and bake cookies as much as we did. But let me tell you this. You don't have to go to the store because this beats slice and bake cookies all to pieces. This is some of the best cookie dough you'll ever have. I wouldn't advise eating this raw because I'm not going to condone eating raw flour. It's just a big no-no, and I didn't really realize that was a big deal until just recently. Did a little bit of research on it, and you just don't want to do that. It's not a good idea. And I have recipes that have raw cookie dough in them, but you know what? I didn't die yet, but I'm still not going to condone it. But the biggest thing about this cookie dough is it has raw eggs in it, and some people have a big hang-up about eating raw eggs, so just don't eat the raw cookie dough. Just make cookies out of them. All right, so here's my cookie dough scoop, and I wish I could tell you how much this holds, but I'm guessing 1/4 cup. So if you have 1/4 cup scoop, then use that. So notice I'm scraping it on the side of the bowl to make it a level scoop. And again, we're going to try to get 8 of these on here because according to my notes, this makes 24 cookies. The nice thing about parchment is if I need to move them around, I can. All right, there's 1 sheet of them. Our oven buzzer just went off, so that means the oven is preheated, so it's ready for us. This still has stains on it from making my gluten-free 4-ingredient blueberry breakfast cookies the other day. Okay, I'm scraping the bottom of the bowl here. And it looks like I do have 1 scoop left. Those are pretty accurate instructions, weren't they? This one looks like it might be oversized. This could possibly be our test cookie. What I mean by test is it's all mine. And as you know, I'm always harping about, know, sugar and the bad effects of sugar, and sugar does this and sugar does that. It's all bad. It's not all bad. It's bad to me because I don't necessarily like the way it makes me feel, but to eat it is delightful, of course. It's just like any, well, any vice like that, I guess you'd call it. Not really a vice, but if you're going to make something sweet, by all means, go ahead and do it, but just make better choices. Use organic chocolate chips, and use organic flour, and use good quality eggs, and use good quality sugar instead of bleach and preservatives and junk. You can still make better choices in the lesser healthy things that you use, and that's what I'm trying to be an advocate for, is just making better choices, whatever you do. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a better quality cigarette. I'm not going to go that far, but I am going to say if it's a food item that you or your family enjoy, or you're given as a gift, by all means, make a good choice in the ingredients that you use. I want to get every speck of that. Okay, and that's what your apron for, is to wipe that stuff on. All right, we're going to put these in the oven. I have 3 racks in there right now. And I have a convection oven, so I don't necessarily have a problem with the ones on the top or ones at the bottom baking more than the other ones. The air gets stirred up really, really well. My oven works really, really well, and they all bake pretty evenly. So I will say that's a bonus when you have a convection oven. We're going to bake these for about 12 minutes. I made a note on these to where if you freeze the dough, then you bake them for 15 minutes. And what I mean by that is take your scoops, put them out on a sheet just as close as you can get them together, put those in the freezer, freeze them hard like little cookie pucks, and put them in a freezer bag. Write on the instructions to bake them for 15 minutes at 375 if they're frozen. But these aren't frozen. We're going to bake them for about 12. And after 12, we're going to check them. But because I have 3 trays in there, it might take a little bit longer, but we'll be back in just a minute, and you can see what they look like. I wish you could taste them. I seriously do. Okay, we'll be right back. The top still looks shiny. That's why I'm not in some big rush to get over there and get the cookies out of the oven. The more cookies you have in there, the longer it's going to take, because there's a lot more moisture in there, and it just takes longer. Nope. I'd say we're going to give these a couple more minutes. Okay, make sure I hold the parchment here. I want to show these to you. This is what our cookies look like. And they smell so good. These are huge, though. They'll continue to bake just a bit when you take them out. Not a whole lot. You don't want to take them out if they're like mushy. But these are browned on the edges, so I'm hoping they're done throughout. Sometimes I like my cookies a little more done than what some people do, but hopefully these will turn out just fine. If not, I'll stick it back in the oven and bake them some more. Okay, I'm going to try to get a good shot of these. Let me turn this camera around. Spatula just because the cookies are bigger. I'll get this spatula. Take one off. Oops, you know what? Those could use a few more minutes in the oven. And that's why we do this. I try not to leave my door open any longer than I have to, just because I want to retain the heat. Okay, a few more minutes and we'll be right back. Okay, I think they're done now. I peeked in there and they look more brown. Yes, these look better. All right. Now, let's see if I can scoop this one off. Yep, this one's perfect. All right, that's what we're talking about. I don't want it to slide off. So these make 24. If your cookie dough scoop is about 1/4 cup, I'm going to let these cool off for a bit, and then I'm going to put them on a rack. I'm going to wrap them up individually and make a gift basket to take over to Miss Madison, and she is going to be as excited as I am. Probably not as excited as I am. She's going to like eating them, but I'm more excited about giving her things just because I love that kid so much. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. The recipe is in the description, and if you've not subscribed to our channel, I would encourage you to do so. You just get notified when we come out with new ones. Normally that's a couple of times a week, but sometimes we're out of town, sometimes we're out of the country, and I don't get to them, but as soon as we get one up on our website, then you get notified of it. But thanks for your viewing, and we look forward again to sharing something again with you real soon. Bye, guys.